Am I the a-hole for telling my mom I will change my name when I'm 18 whether she likes it or not? I'll keep it short. My dad died when I was 6 and my mom remarried when I was 7. When my mom remarried, her husband adopted me, which I didn't want, and they changed my middle name and last name. Middle name went from my dad's middle name to her husband's first name, and she gave me her husband's last name. I never liked it. I have always resented them both for forcing the adoption on me and for changing my name. I'm a few months shy of 18, and I decided I would bring up the topic of changing my name back to my mom. I figured it might seem more mature to discuss it with her and give a heads up of sorts. Not him though, since it will just end in a fight. It ended in one anyway. My mom told me I wasn't going to change the name. It would be hurting and disrespectful, and that was the end of the conversation. I told her I gave the heads up to be nice, but it wasn't up for debate. She told me I wasn't going to do it. That she and my dad don't deserve it. I told her I was going to do it whether she liked it or not, and she had to live with it. My mom freaked. Her husband also freaked when he heard. They said I have no right to be so rude, and then my aunt decided to chime in and say I should have handled my mom's reaction more maturely, and it would have looked way better. And I was kinda a-hole for how I handled it. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. It's your name. End of story. It already sounds pretty crappy that she changed it in the first place. I never understood why parents would change kids' names as soon as they got married. And considering the fact Opie's name got changed a year after the dad died, makes Opie's mom an even bigger a-hole in my opinion. Not the a-hole. Not only did they change his last name, but they removed Dad's middle name too. Makes me wonder what would they have done if Opie was Bio Dad Jr. Why do parents do this? Not the a-hole. That's so weird to change your middle name too, in my opinion. You can have whatever name you would like. You were old enough that you should have been consulted, not just told, here's your new middle and last name. Right? The last name is easy to compartmentalize away, but the middle name? You can pry my middle name from my cold dead hands. Not the a-hole. You didn't want the name changed then, and now you get to decide. My guess is that this is the tip of the iceberg with them. Not the a-hole. When you're an adult, you can do what you want to do with your name. You feel your real name was stolen from you and you're going to put things right. I don't blame you. They cannot stop you from pursuing this. Good luck. Next story is titled, Would I be the a-hole if I don't change my name with my mom when my parents divorce? When I, female 27, was born, I had my mom's maiden name as my mom and bio father weren't married. Bio father left, and my mom met my stepdad when I was 3. They married when I was 6 and my mom took his last name. When I was 8, my stepdad adopted me and I took his last name as well. So I had my mom's maiden name until 8 and my stepdad's last name ever since. Most days I forget my stepdad isn't my biological dad. Even calling him my stepdad on here for clarity's sake sounds weird. To me, he's just my dad. The only one I've ever known. My mom and stepdad had my younger sister when I was 9, so she's always had my stepdad's last name. After 21 years of marriage, my mom and stepdad are divorcing on okay terms. Not great, but not explosive either. More of a falling out of love, but still wanting the best for each other type of thing. My mom will change back to her maiden name, and I know that she'll be hurt if I don't follow suit. While I know that legally I can do whatever, I know that I really only have access to that last name because of her marriage to him. He wouldn't have adopted me if they hadn't gotten married. I also do historically have a different last name to return to, unlike my sister who has had his name all her life. I plan to stay close with both parents after their divorce, but my stepdad has no issue with me keeping his last name. My whole adult life is built on that last name, both personal and professional, and it feels like part of my identity now. I know it's going to hurt my mom when I tell her I don't want to change my name too, but I don't want to change it. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. 1. You're an adult and don't have to change your name to please your mother. 2. There are legal steps and costs involved in changing your name as an adult. Have you looked into those? 3. Your dad adopted you, so you absolutely have a right to the name. I wouldn't call Mom an a-hole in this from what Opie has so far told us. At most, it sounds like she might feel a little hurt, and she's allowed her own private feelings about things. but it doesn't sound like she would be kicking up a fuss or guilting Opie about it. So even that can't make me think of her as an a-hole. And that is assuming it is even true. It kind of feels like Opie is projecting a bit onto Mom. So I'd say no a-holes here. And Opie, maybe if you want to sit down and talk to your mom about this? It sounds like Opie is assuming their mom will be hurt and hasn't had any conversation. You divorce wives, not children. No a-holes here. Info. Has your mom indicated that she expects you to change your name? You may be worried about something that she's not expecting. Was gonna say the same thing. Opie needs to speak to her mom. Exactly this. This whole post seems to be based entirely on Opie's perception of what her mom might want and not any actual communication. Personally, I don't get why she's assuming that her mother would expect her almost 30-year-old daughter to change her name with her, but maybe Mom has toxic personality traits that Opie didn't state. What I feel is most likely is that Opie's playing into her own insecurities that her father might reject her as his daughter once her parents are officially divorced. The fact that she states she was only adopted because her parents got married leaves me to think so. I definitely would look into therapy if I were her. This name thing just seems like a symptom of a larger anxiety and issue. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for threatening to name my child after my sister's husband? My sister, 38 female, has a couple of children, all girls, and she is a good mother. However, her parenting style is different than mine. Her style is the cried-out method. I, 20s female, have chosen the attachment/intuitive style of parenting. Our parenting styles are complete opposites. My son is healthy and is hitting milestones at 8 months ahead of where he is supposed to be. Our pediatrician informed us of this. My sister only criticizes my parenting. She's mad that I don't take her advice. And in her eyes, since I'm not doing it her way, then I'm implying she's done it wrong. Her girls are great kids, and I've told her that there are more than one way to raise children, and each family is different. I have tried so many ways to get her to understand and respect my boundaries. Rationalizing with her. Telling her I heard what she said, but I prefer my way with my child. If she has more to say, to write it down, and I will look up the statistics and studies of her suggestions. I told her if her teenage daughter or our mother were crying, we would try to comfort them. So why wouldn't we offer that same support to a child? I am introverted and she is a type A extrovert. She constantly overwhelms me, yet I have been persistent and respectful in defending what I think is right for my family. On Mother's Day, I announced that my husband and I will be having another child and we are expecting another boy. Everyone was happy, except my sister. She made comment after comment about how she hopes I raised this one differently, so he doesn't become spoiled like my first child. I was so hurt. I asked her to please stop, and so did some other family members. She wouldn't. So jokingly, I told her if she doesn't stop, then I was going to name my son after her husband. Her husband thought it was a great idea, since he got snipped after giving up hope on having a boy, and it would be nice to have a nephew named after him. My sister literally cursed me out. I told her I was kidding, and that everyone knows that the fathers are responsible for the gender of the babies, not the moms. My brother called me privately asking me to apologize because I really hurt my sister's feelings. I argued that she constantly hurts my feelings, and no one says anything because she's such a Karen sometimes. Am I the a-hole and should I apologize? Now for the top comments. In my personal opinion, you are not the a-hole. My reasoning is this. 1. She is consistently harassing you. If it were just giving advice, it would be one thing. But putting down your views and ignoring your opinion/personality. 2. She ignored everyone telling her to stop in order to make assert that only she knows how to raise a child. 3. She complains of cuddling your children, but then expects to be cuddled over a joke. I understand that she's family, but you have to establish boundaries because she's crossed one too many. You shouldn't feel attacked for doing what you think is best for your child and family. Thank you for taking the time to reply, and you made very good points. Please, tell your brother to just let your sister to just cry it out. Honestly, you both sound like you're playing in the Mom Olympics. Even reading this exhausted me. Everyone has their own style, but my baby is hitting milestones at 8 months early. Everyone sucks here. You both need to get over this BS. I added that comment about his milestones to show that I'm taking care of my child since you don't know me. Also, a trained professional like our pediatrician is a good outside source for my sister and I, since it's less likely to be biased. Yeah, you still are just gloating. Your kid is 8 months old meeting their milestones. It's not like they're doing algebra. And seriously, it's not a competition. You have to stop comparing your kid to everyone else's. It's going to end badly. Everyone sucks here. That was a strange thing to tell your sister. Like, really weird. You named the baby after her husband? I really don't understand how you leapt to that threat of all things. That really crossed a boundary, honestly. You should apologize for that. Your sister owes you quite an apology too. She clearly is not respecting your boundaries and was extremely rude after your announcement, so I totally understand your frustration. I'm curious who keeps bringing up all these parenting conversations. Does she initiate? Is it equal? Are you commenting on her parenting too? She sounds a bit jealous and bitter from the way you described her. I would tell her you no longer want to discuss any parenting/child raising issues with her, and if she can't respect that, then you need to distance yourself from her for a while. Make it clear to her how you're feeling. Best of luck. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for the way I handled my best friend telling me the name they chose for their coming child? So, a little backstory. We, both early 30s male, have been friends since we were 14. We have talked every single day, at least once a day on the phone since that time. We've only had one fight in our entire friendship, and it was when we were young, and it hasn't happened since. Needless to say, we're pretty close friends. He recently split with the mother of his child, moved out, and 4 weeks later she called him with the pregnancy news. So he's decided to get back together with her and move back in with her. Well, he called me this morning and was excited to tell me they had come up with a definite name for the baby. One if it's a boy and one if it's a girl. He built it up pretty good, like, okay dude, you ready? I think you're gonna love them, man. The boy's name will be Abel Rain Blank, and the girl's name Annabelle Queen Blank. I'm omitting his last name here. And then he proceeded to explain to me how Abel is an uncommon name and is biblical. He isn't religious, neither is the mom. And Rain is a badass middle name, and Annabelle Queen because she's gonna be a queen. My reaction was what made him kind of upset. I didn't say anything at first because I was trying to think of what to say. I thought they were terrible, and I just imagined having the name Abel Rain in 2031 as a 10-year-old, and how I would hate it. So he was like, "What do you think, uncle?" And I was like, "Oh man, that's cool." But it was so disingenuous, but I did not mean to come off that way. It just sort of came out. After that, he knew what I thought, and I couldn't convince him I liked them. So I just told him, "Hey man, I stand by your choice. I don't have any stock in naming your child, so as long as you're happy, I'm happy." And he was like, "Yeah, okay man, thanks, I gotta go." And got off the phone pretty quickly. I can't help but think it really hurts his feelings, and I hate it. Am I an a-hole for not being so excited about the name of his kid it chose? Not an a-hole. They're pretty terrible names. Hugh acknowledged his choices without being rude. Shocked maybe, but not rude. But if his kids are lucky, your hesitance at accepting the names might get them to rethink naming a human either of those awful choices. The middle names are a bit undesirable, but Abel and Annabelle are perfectly fine first names in my opinion. No a-holes here. No a-holes here, but Abel and Annabelle are both pretty standard names. Abel is not super common now, but it's fine. I'm not a fan of the middle names, but they're only middle names. You probably need to get better at responding to things you don't like. The long pause might have been more offensive than just immediately saying something like, "Wow, those are pretty unique middle names." But you're fine, he'll get over it. Or even better, he'll rethink the middle names. There are at least 3 Abels in my kids right now. Not a weird name at all. And about 30 Bellas. Nothing at all weird about their name. I agree. Middle names are pretty meaningless as you go through life. This is good advice. But as far as name goes, these kids will be just fine. Not an a-hole. You tried to be supportive at least. You did a lot better than I did when a friend told me he and his partner were considering naming their son Wolfram, so his nickname would be Wolfie. I laughed in his face as I honestly didn't think he was being serious. That sounds like a joke to me too, so I can't blame your reaction at all. Am I the a-hole? I always make cakes for my niece's birthday. This year, I stayed at home. Since my 8-year-old niece was born, I've always been asked to make a cake for her birthday. The first year went well, but in the second year, something happened that started a tradition that I hate, the smash cake in the face thing. The first time it was even funny, I can't deny that. The timing was perfect, and we had plenty of other food too. No one was hurt. The cake landed on my sister's face, and it was just a plain blue cake with the words "Happy Birthday" written on it. The third year, my sister asked me for a Winnie the Pooh themed cake. I didn't think much of it and agreed again. I spent hours on this cake and made it 3 times because the first 2 versions were terrible and I couldn't find a way to save them. I'm not a professional. I just like it. When I brought this cake, I was proud of myself. An hour later, my niece's face ended up in the cake. I tried to laugh with the others, but I felt frustrated. No one even tried it, and then the cake was thrown away. It was the same over the next few years. Each time, my sister promised me that this time we would eat the cake and not continue this tradition. Then I would bring the cake, she would take a picture, stick my niece's head, or hers, in the cake, and throw it out while everyone else laughed. This year, I had had enough. I said I wouldn't make a cake. My sister tried to convince me for weeks, sending me pictures with ideas for this year, but I kept saying no. I finally got mad and said that not only was I not making the cake, but I wasn't going to the birthday party either. I gave my niece a present a month before her birthday, and every time someone asked me, I said I'm not going. Well, they still didn't believe me. The party was on March 1st, and from what I know from my cousin, everyone was waiting for me for 2 hours. They tried to contact me several times, but my phone was turned off. My niece started crying at one point, and my sister's husband finally ran to the store and bought the first cake he saw. But everyone was irritated, and instead of focusing on the party, they were discussing my absence. They also went home earlier than usual. To be honest, I feel a little bad, and I'm no longer sure if I did the right thing. My sister always pays me for the cakes, and I really like my niece. But on the other hand, it annoys me to see my work and food go to waste like that. Now for the top comments. Why in holy heck can't they buy a cheap store cake for their antics and eat/enjoy the cake you made with love? Not the a-hole. It takes OP's time, creativity, skill, etc., not even including the financial costs of baking and decorating cakes, clean up, and they don't even eat it? They con OP every year, only to turn each requested effort into a joke, making OP feel bad that they're hurt and upset. I don't get it. It doesn't make sense outside of control, abuse, and scapegoating. Not the a-hole OP. It's about time you created some boundaries for yourself. Your family are idiots at the very least. Yeah, they don't even eat it too? I'm not the OP and I'm insulted by that waste. Go buy the cheapest crappies cake at Walmart if you want to do that. Don't have someone waste their time and money making you a custom cake. How awful. Not the a-hole, but those people sure are. It's beyond cruel to shove a child's face in a cake for the amusement of the adults. Truly sadistic. Same with weddings. It's disgusting. To stand up and make a vow to love, honor, and cherish someone, and then start a food fight and smear food in their face. It's not cute. It's not funny. It's not respectful, loving, honoring, or cherishing. I've had 3 weddings, married twice, and I made it very clear on my weddings, anniversaries, birthdays, etc. that I have a zero tolerance policy for cake in the face. I didn't do it to my kids either. I was at a family friend's wedding, and I remember the bride telling us all how she did not want cake in her face. The groom behaved himself, but the look of fear in her eyes the entire cake cutting was very telling of the relationship dynamics. Edit. No, I didn't take the money this time. No cake, no money. But yes, my sister only paid for the ingredients. No, the cake wasn't eaten before or after it was destroyed. Literally everything went in the trash, which is what hurts me the most. I hate wasting food like this. No, my niece doesn't hate this tradition. She never cried. She always laughed when it happened. No, from what I know, they didn't ruin the cake they bought because they weren't in the mood. Next story. Am I the a-hole for moving in with my grandparents the same day my parents announced my mom's pregnant again? My parents had me, 17 male, when they were 19, mom, and 20, dad. We lived with my mom's parents until I was 6. Then my parents moved the 3 of us into another house and told me the reason was because they were having another kid. In the almost 11 years since then, my parents have had 5 more kids. My parents don't know how to be parents, and my siblings don't know how to act because of that. They spit, mess with people's food by slobbering all over it, or putting it in their own mouths and spitting it back out. They leave food out everywhere to rot, and they'll throw food on the floor. Like if my mom gets frozen pizzas for dinner and there's something my siblings don't like on it, the topping goes on the floor. They have tantrums in public and break stuff all the time. With my youngest sibling, my parents put her in my room when she was a baby instead of theirs, and I had to wake up with her at night and deal with the dirty diapers and everything. It was stressful. Plus, my parents are always trying to make me babysit. So last week when my mom and dad announced that my mom was pregnant again, I called my grandparents so fast my head was probably spinning, and I begged them to let me come live with them because I couldn't deal with it anymore. They were furious when they heard my mom was expecting another kid and said yes straight away. I packed up my essentials, including my passport and other papers, and left. My parents are mad because they don't have help and because I didn't talk to them about it. My grandparents dealt with my parents and their anger, but my parents called the cops on my grandparents twice already, and they're threatening to sue them now. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole, and for reference, you're 17. The police aren't going to do anything, so just ignore your parents. They have no solid ground to stand on. At 17, you're legally able to decide where you live in most places, and the cops aren't gonna drag you back into free babysitter hell. OP, you can report your parents to CPS if you like. Not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Let them threaten to sue. I mean, sue for what exactly? Removal of the unpaid nanny service? Getting a life and an education? They've called the cops twice, and obviously that didn't work, so now they're trying another tactic. Newsflash, that won't work either. No court is ever going to look at this. Tell them that if they don't back off, you'll report them for child neglect. The way your siblings are being reared is certainly not good parenting. Report them anyways. The siblings need help. The parents will be forced to take parenting classes. Not the a-hole. Coming from a mom of 4 kids, 1 teenager and 3 adults. Your parents are lazy, disrespectful parents to lazy, disrespectful kids. You leaving at 17 is a good thing. Their children are not your problem. Help your grandparents while living there. Keep a clean house and keep good grades. That advice is if CPS or cops try and say anything. That is to cover your butt. Be respectful to them and help them. Go live your life. Always protect yourself and your grandparents. You got this. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not making any efforts to get my kids to like my mother's boyfriend? My father passed away when I, 36 male, was 20, and my mother didn't cope well. She got better with time, but she didn't attempt to pursue another relationship until 15 years later. She has been dating Jim for 2 years. I don't hate Jim, but I don't like him either. He drinks a lot. My mother has had to cancel on us several times because he was drunk, has made several offensive jokes to my brother, 43 male, that I didn't appreciate, and is overall a pretty and pleasant person to be around. Still, he seems to genuinely love my mother and makes her happy, so my brother and I don't interfere. One problem I do have with the relationship is that my mother has been trying to get my children, 9 male and 5 female, to form a grandparent bond with Jim. He's also been trying to take on a grandfather role, which neither my wife, 34 female, nor I want for the kids. They don't try to push boundaries too much, but we've had some minor arguments in the past. Anyway, my daughter had her first ever dance recital last December. There was a limit of 4 guests per child. The kids usually ask us to invite one of their grandparents to events like this, but my mother was out of town. I didn't even ask her. And my in-laws were busy. Instead, my daughter invited my brother to join me, my wife, and our son. My mother and Jim came to visit us during the weekend, and she saw pictures from the recital for the first time in a photo album. She asked why my brother was there and not her, and I reminded her she was traveling at the time. She said, well, Jim was in town. I'll be honest, we didn't even think of inviting Jim back in December, and neither did my kids. I told my mother that it was my daughter who chose to invite her uncle, and we respected that. Then Jim turned to my daughter and told her that she could invite him next time Grandma wasn't around. My wife chimed in and said she could invite whoever she wanted. After they left, my mother called me. She said she was upset that we weren't making any efforts to welcome Jim into the family, and that we were depriving our children of a wonderful grandfather. I told her that we would never force our children to like him or spend time with him if they didn't want to, and that wasn't up for discussion. We ended up having an argument over this before I hung up on her. I spoke with a few family members yesterday who think I'm being too harsh on Jim. So, am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. I hate when adults try to force kids into having any sort of relationship with other adults. Leave the kids alone. This is how you foster resentful feelings in children and teach them that their feelings and decisions don't matter. My wife had similar problems with some of her family members growing up, so we try to be extra mindful of that. We teach the kids to be kind regardless, but also that they can choose whether they want to be close to someone or not. At the end of the day, you don't have a father-son relationship with Jim, so it's insane to expect a grandfather-grandchild relationship with your kids. Not the a-hole. Honestly, I'd be more blunt with your mom and stop telling her it was your daughter's choice. Tell your mom that you can't trust an alcoholic and you only put up with him because of your mom. If she's not around to wrangle him, then he's not invited. Period. You don't trust him around the kids. I'm not sure he's reached alcoholic levels of drunk, but it's true that I don't trust him. I will say he's never been drunk around the kids. When drinking interferes with your life, that's alcoholism. His drinking has caused him to cancel plans many times. That's interference. I'm not saying he doesn't have a problem. I do have to recognize I'm biased as I don't drink and I used to be a bartender, so I've seen a lot worse than Jim. But I wouldn't trust the guy to be alone with a plant. Next story. Would I be the a-hole if I didn't let my daughter go to her friend's 16th birthday party? Context. My daughter is 15 and got invited to go out for dinner, really lunch, at a Korean barbecue joint near us for her friend's 16th. My daughter has been dying to try it, and her friend is renting out a karaoke room. On the invitation, however, it says all the kids invited are required to bring $80 to pay for their own food and give back to the girl's mom for the karaoke room costs. I think this is BS. If you invite someone, you should at least offer to pay. At least that's how I was raised. And Korean barbecue? That stuff's not cheap. I don't know about other places, but the restaurant my daughter was invited to charges like $60 for one meal, which is expensive. Expecting these 15 to 16-year-olds to bring that much money is insane. The food itself is enough, but what really doesn't make sense to me is why my kid is expected to pay for the karaoke room when that wasn't even her idea. This is turning into a rant, so to cut things short, I usually wouldn't have an issue just giving her the money, even if it was annoying. But my husband got laid off recently, and money is tight. I really don't know if I'll be able to afford to give her $80 for food. That, in all honesty, I don't think she'll even like. My daughter is very picky, so I really don't think she'll like anything other than maybe the meat. Anyway, I feel really bad telling her she can't go, especially since she's been struggling to make friends lately and is finally being invited to something. The guilt I'd feel not letting her go is tremendous, but I really can barely afford it right now. I'm sure I could make it work if I tried, but it would just be so much easier to have her tell her friend she's busy or something. Anyway, would I be the a-hole if I don't let her? You would be the a-hole if you don't handle this conversation well. Explain that money is tight and that you don't love the way the invitation was handled, but do not discourage her because of things she might not like to eat. You should not pre-filter activities that she might not enjoy. That is part of growing up. She has to go and experience these things for herself. Maybe meet in the middle and explain that you will need some extra help with chores and stuff to help offset the cost, like an advance on some future allowance money. You are not the a-hole for thinking this is a fairly rude invite for teenagers, essentially putting all the parents in a tough spot. The venue should 100% be covered, if not the food too. You should not pre-filter activities that she might not enjoy. That is part of growing up. She has to go and experience these things for herself. This is so important. Finances are a valid reason for not allowing her to go, but not expecting her to like it isn't fair to her. Maybe she won't. Maybe she'll discover more she'll eat, and it'll be a start to being a little less picky. Either way, it's up to her if she wants to try it, and up to you whether you can afford it. If you are not allowing her to go, you're the a-hole. If you are not giving her $80 so that she can go, but you are willing to let her pay for herself and help her figure out how to do work to earn it, if she doesn't already have $80 saved, no a-holes here. Edit. It's only been less than an hour, but thank you for the responses. Honestly, you all have opened my eyes a lot to ways to go about this that I didn't even consider. I really do like the idea of her getting her own money to pay, but the party is in a week and she does not have a job. She doesn't really have any way to make money. That doesn't involve chores, but either way, that would come out of my pockets. And before you twist this sentence, I have no problem giving her allowance. It's just the current situation makes it hard. She's also a big spender, which she got from me, haha, so she doesn't really have money saved up. Don't worry, I have a savings account for her. I also appreciate your criticisms about how I said she probably won't like it. I guess I didn't realize Korean barbecue was mostly meat. I thought it would have more traditional Korean food, which was a judgment error on my part. I actually am happy she wants to expand her tastes, so I understand that the way I worded it was iffy. If and when I reach a consensus, I will update you all, so thank you for your comments and suggestions. They help a ton. Last story. Am I the a-hole for cutting off my brother after he told my boyfriend it's okay to cheat on me? I, 23 female, recently had a falling out with my brother, 29 male, after finding out something awful he said about me. Apparently, he told my boyfriend, 24 male, that it's totally fine to cheat on me, as long as he comes back and loves me. I was completely shocked and disgusted when I found out. My brother and fiancé stayed out for drinks whilst I took my parents home in a taxi. That night, while they were both drinking, he also told my fiancé that I am lazy because I'm in between jobs at the moment and that I should be losing weight in the gym. He's always had this superiority complex and talks down to me like I'm an immature little girl, even though he still lives at home, albeit with his own business, while I moved out at 18 to get a degree and have lived and worked 3 hours away since. I've put up with his insults and teasing as a big brother for years, but this crossed the line. When I told my parents what was said that night out of desperation for comfort, it seems that he is denying it and is mad that my fiancé told me. Now my parents are furious at my fiancé for telling me, which I think was the right thing to do, and want me to forgive and forget it all because I make my brother feel awkward when I go home to visit. I feel completely alone in this, as it seems like somehow this has all been turned around on me, and now my fiancé and I are the bad guys. So, am I the a-hole for refusing to tolerate my brother's behavior and cutting him off? Not the a-hole. Your brother is a toxic twat. And yes, the parents are a-holes too. This, and the fact that your parents are okay with what he said and angry the fiancé told you, is a problem. OP, your parents are also an issue. It may be time to go low contact them. Because let's be honest, they allow your brother to treat you that way. None of them need to come to your wedding, OP. Nope, your family are all a-holes though, which sucks for you. I'm happy for you that you found a fiancé who is honest with you.